illegal stress. And we believe that we will be able to meet your expectation. And our target is actually to surpass your expectations. And you know, the whole package is Excel and Power BI. So we're going to start with Excel. And I know that a lot of you have been using Excel before. This is not the first time you're using Excel. Maybe probably you have used it while at work, or you've used it to do a lot of other things. And I know that we are also going to be introducing you to some things that you have not used before when you talk about Excel. And I just wanted to have an open mind for this program. I know that learning is continuous, and we also want to encourage that you don't just do the class alone, you also do continuous practice on your own. So we give assignments, as I've said earlier. I think we've had a lot of discussion. We give assignments, and we expect that the assignment is completed before the next class. Because this class is actually few, I will want to ask by saying that, what do you assimilate more? Do you have a busy schedule during the weekday? Do you want part of the class to be moved to weekend? Are you comfortable with classes on weekends? So we want to give that so that we have maybe like another 2 hours on weekend when you are more relaxed. It depends on your nature of job. If you are comfortable with weekdays throughout, that will be fine. Of course, that's our own schedule. But we also realize that some people, maybe they are fagged out, you understand? So they needed to relax. You just go home and you face the traffic and you need to just relax when you got home. Because of that, your concentration level might not be that optimal for the weekday classes. You understand? So that's why I'm making that option available. But if you feel that the weekday is fine by you, that's fine. We can go with just the weekday only. And I want to beg you for like 2 seconds to switch my power source so that I won't lose connection. Just like 20 seconds, please. So VLOOKUP is just asking this question, that what do you want to look up? So you provide the thing you want to look up. Where is the thing you want to look up? Where you want to look for it. So you provide that information and the column number in the range containing the value to return. Return an approximate on an exact match. So this is just the syntax. So I want you, the reason why I am showing this before we use the formula is that sometimes people just get to use the formula without understanding each of this. The lookup value is the value I want to look for. The table array is the table, is the table where the information is. The column index is the location of that information. So let me just do a drawing so that we can. Okay, so assuming I have this table. Okay, then this is column 1, and this is column 2. Assuming that's column 2, let me just do it. Okay, so let me draw another line here. So this is column 1, column 2. And what am I looking for? So if I have another info, if I have another table here, and I want information to be returned here, for example, then what I'm looking for is here. So in this location where I am putting in my formula, what I'll put here is that, assuming this is what I'm looking for, if this is what I'm looking for, then I also need to provide the information about where the information is located. So for where the information is located, it's going to be the table array. This is where the information is located. So the information is located in the entire table. So that is the table. So I also need to provide the column index. So this is 1, 2, 3. If the information is here, that's column 3. Then I also need to provide either I need an exact or an approximate match. So this drawing is not reflecting what I want properly. So what I want to do now is to quickly implement this on. Okay. Okay. So now this is I want to quickly implement this on the Excel I sent to you. Remember, I sent you something the other time. That's the workbook we are going to be working with. So let me go in there. But before I go there, let me also explain another one. Okay, so that's VLOOKUP. This is index. What index we do for you is going to return the value in an array. So I'll be mentioning some key things that I want you to take note of them. One of them is a cell. You know what a cell is in Excel. You know what an array is in Excel. So I want to quickly differentiate between the two before I go further. So when I'm referring to a cell, let me stop sharing so that I will show my whiteboard, which will give me. So when I'm referring to a cell, I'm only referring to just a location. But when I'm referring to an array contains more than one cell. So let me open an Excel file so you can see that. So just as I've said earlier, let me quickly share this. Okay, so you can see on the screen. So this is a cell in Excel. This is a cell in Excel. This is an array. This is an array in Excel. So what's the question now is, what's the difference between an array and a cell? An array contains more than one cell. So this is an array, and this is a cell, and this is a cell. So for example, if I want to look for information and the information is contained in a table. Of course, I need to provide a table array. The table array will tell me the range of the table. So I think that's clear about an array and a cell. So even though if I have a single column this way, it is still an array. If this is also an array, and this is also an array, in as much as it is more than one cell, it is referred to as array. But a single cell is just a cell, because you'll be seeing table array all the time. Even when you're using index and match and you're using VLOOKUP, you see table array repeating itself or reoccurring severally. So I want you to know the difference between an array and a cell. I think that is clear. So having said that, let me quickly open up the file I'm going to be using. I think I've shared the file with you. So that's the file we're going to be using for this class. And that file contains some of the basic things we're going to be discussing. So I'm going to quickly run through what is contained in there. Everything about the file is about lookup. So looking up for information can be between workbook, can be from one sheet to the other. So we're going to demonstrate looking up for information between workbook. We're also going to demonstrate looking up for information between a sheet and the other and another sheet. So look at it. We have a data set here. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me see. Share the right screen. So we have a data set here, and the data set is this. The data set contains the distributor ID, distributor name, country, product code, sales channel, date sold, month sold, quantity sold, unit price, revenue. You can see. So for me to access the end of this table, I can just look at control arrow down. So for me to go to the extreme right, I can see control the arrow that points to the right, or to the left rather. So you can also go up just to go around the table to see that the table is complete. Is that clear? So now that I know that the table is complete, in my section 1, what I want to be looking for is this. I've been given some sets of instruction that I should look for some numbers. So for example, the question says that you were given the small subset of the data from your client. Your team has been given a list of transactions that require additional follow-up. Identify the associated distributors below using the VLOOKUP. So now I want to look for the name of these distributors. And these distributors are here in this table. They are on this table. So I need to get out what their names are. So I want to ask some few questions. So my lookup value would be what? Distributor ID. My table array will be what? Will be the entire table that you can see here, this entire table. Then my column index, because I'm looking for the distributor name, my column index is going to be 2, because this is column 1, this is column 1, this is column 2. Is that clear? And because I want the exact name, so I'm going to use an exact match. So let me quickly just do that. So I'm going to say equals to, and before you begin to type any formula, you have to use equal to VLOOKUP. So immediately I started typing that number, it showed me, of course, this. So I can just click on it and supply the lookup value. Can you see from here? It's asking me for the lookup value. Let me increase my screen a bit. So it's asking me for the lookup value. So I need to supply the lookup value. So in this case, my lookup value is this. So I'm going to put a comma. So I'll put a comma, and the next thing is asking for is my table array. It's asking for my table array. So I need to supply what the table array is. So the table array is the entire table where the data set is located. So what will I do? In this case, I'm just going to select the entire table. So let me just. So I'm going to select the entire table, this, as my table array. So I'm going to put a comma. Then immediately I selected the entire table. Can you see what you have here? See that you have JSON store. So I'm going to explain what it means by naming a range. So when you name a range, you can easily refer to it. So the next information is the column index. And I told you that the column where I'm looking for this information is what? Is on column 2. So I'm going to put 2 as my column index. I'll put a comma. So it's asking me, do I want an exact match or I want an approximate match? I'm going to show you an example where I need to use an approximate match. But in this case, I'm going to be using what? I'm going to be using an exact match because I want exactly the name to appear. So I click on this. So instead of clicking on that, you can as well just type in false or type in 0. Either of them will work. So I click on enter. So immediately I click on enter, you can see it's giving me Uriel Benton. Uriel Benton, let's check if this name corresponds to the distributor ID we were looking for. So I'm going to copy this. I will go to the table and I will do control find. So I look for that table, that name, and see if the name that was returned corresponds to this distributor ID. So I'm going to do find next. So can you see that this distributor ID actually corresponds to Uriel Benton? So that means our table, our lookup, our VLOOKUP has returned the right information. Is it clear up to this level? Do you have questions? Please, if you have questions, let me know.
I'm confused though.
Okay, so we're going to do another one.
Sorry, before you revise back or you go back, pardon me. So you did a shortcut for find. What was the shortcut?
Control F for you to find.
Yeah, okay, Control F. Okay, I thought you said Control find. So I was wondering where is the find. Okay,
sorry. I said Control F.
Control F. I
should be mindful. Yes, so Control F.
Okay.
To find.
And replace or something, yeah.
Yes, so I'm going to go over it again so that we all get it.
That's fine, thank you.
Okay, so now let me go over it again. But before I go over it again, I'm going to call up the PowerPoint presentation so that we use it as a guide again. So let me share that screen. Okay. So let me call on this and okay. So what can you see on the screen? Can you see the PowerPoint slide?
Yeah, it's the problem.
Okay.
It's the Excel that we are still seeing, the problem statement.
You're still seeing the Excel. Okay, let me do that again. Okay, what about now?
The average ifs.
Okay, averages. So I'm going to go to
VLOOKUP.
VLOOKUP. Okay.
Yeah, then now.
Showing now.
Yes. So what you want to look up. So if I compare this to what we had before, so what we want to look up is what? The number, the distributor ID. That answers the question that what do I want to look up? I supplied that. That is the distributor ID. Where you want to look for it, that is the table. Remember, I went to the table, I highlighted the entire table. The column number in the range containing the value to return. I started counting from the first column in that table, and the first column is column 1. The second column where the name is column 2. So I put 2 there as my column number. So it further asked me that to return an approximate or exact match. And I said it should return an exact match. So if I want an exact match, I can do what? I can click on this, because exact match is
false.
So you can put false or put 0. So you can either write 0 or false, or you can put true or 1 for approximate match. So this is also very familiar to you, right? Lookup value, table array, column index, and the range lookup. So I told you what an array is. An array is when you have more than one cell. When you have a range that is more than one cell. When you have a range that is just a cell, it's called a cell. But when even it is more than one cell, it is called an array. So, and I'll explain what an array is. So table array is referring to the entire table. So with this understanding, let's go back and let's rewrite the function again. So let me just. Okay, so I'm going to share this now. Okay, so I'm going to click on it. So what do you see? The lookup value, what I'm looking for, you can see this is the lookup value, and B13 is the lookup value. Look at it, B13. This is B. This is B, and the row number is 13. B13. Can you see 13? So the intersection of B and 13 is this. So the next thing I need to provide is the table array. So I went ahead to select the entire table. And you see JC store here because it has been named JC store. But if I don't want to further confuse you, what I will do is I'll go to formula and name. I'll go to manage name and delete all the names there. So I'm going to delete all the names so that, so let me just delete. Let me say delete. So let me see if I can select all. Okay, so let me select the entire information and delete. Are you sure you want to delete selected names? Yes. So that means I have deleted that name, JC store.
I'm sorry for interrupting. You want to rename the old table again. Is that the goal of the deleting? And I just want to be sure.
The goal is, I want to quickly introduce you to, I want to show you, so this JSON store, because immediately I click on, I selected the entire table, it brought out a name.
Yes, JSON store.
Yes, it brought a JSON store because I have named it. If I don't name it, it's going to give me a range, right? It's going to give me an array. So if I come here and select the whole of this, because I formatted it as a table, you see that it's giving me table 1, this and this. So what I want to do is to quickly convert that to a range. So what do I mean by converting something to a range? When you want to create a table in Excel, what do? Do you just select the area and put in, I know this is common practice, just come to this and put a border around it. Is that how you create your table?
Yes, most times, yes. Maybe okay. draw with grid lines.
Yes, with grid line.
And let me just tell you, borders.
Yes, this is not a table in Excel. This is just a cell that you have highlighted the borders. It's not a table. If you want a table in Excel, what you do is you just select that range and click on Insert and click on Table. Once you click OK, you have inserted the table. This is a proper table in Excel. So it's easy for you to reference anything from this table. So whenever you want to do your calculation, it's easier to work with table. So what I want to do now, I'm going to delete this. The entire data set you have here has been formatted in this form. So this entire data set that I have underneath is in this form. You understand? So, but what I want to do now is to delete that table. So this has been converted to a table, is in form of a table. Immediately I click on this edge, you see that the whole thing is highlighted. So I see the entire table has been highlighted. So I can convert this to a range. So that takes me also to the difference between a range and a table. So this is a table. I can convert it to a range. So for me to convert to a range, I will also come to this. Okay, view. Okay, table design. Okay, yeah. Under my table design, you can see convert to range. Because this will take, this is going to have its other function defined by Excel. So whenever you create a table, you will see that it gives you a table design. Whenever you create, when you insert an image, something like this, it's going to give you shape format. So if you click on it, you see all that formatting that you can do to that shape. If you insert anything, for example, if I insert a chart, so it's going to give me a chart format. Look at it, chart design. So it's going to give me different options for me to design that chart. So it takes me to the general principle that if it is not in a cell, in Excel, it is not Excel. So if anything is not in a cell, you understand, it is just an addendum to Excel.
Sorry, I have a quick question. Quickly chime
Okay.
in. Yeah, so I noticed when you change the cells to table, there was a drop-down menu at the end.
Yes.
So for example, if you highlight an array of cells and there's a drop-down, yeah.
If I insert a table, for example,
yeah, it changes. Yes, okay. Yeah, if you check the header,
this is just the filter. It gives you filter. Yes, so you can filter whatever you have in a particular column.
Yeah, but it's more or less like a drop-down list, a drop-down menu that will need conditional formatting and all those things. So my question is,
which one is that? Well, sorry, you mean this one?
Yes, that's a drop-down. Am I right? Obviously.
Yes, yes.
So my question is, does all tables come with that drop-down when you insert table?
When you insert table, it comes with it by default.
But we can always remove it, right?
You can remove it. It's possible to remove it. So if you want to remove it, you go to your table design. You see the options here. You can see you see this filter button.
Yeah.
You can remove it. So if you uncheck that filter button, that will go away automatically.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you click on it again, you're going to insert that. So if you have information, you can filter, you can sort in ascending or descending order. Whatever you want to do, you can do with it.
Thank you.
Okay. So now I want to quickly convert this to a range. Remember when I had a table, what you saw was actually different. When I had a table, if I go back to this table to select the entire table as my table array, this as my table array, can you see table 1? Because this is a table, that is why you see that table 1. Because this has been formatted as a table. So if, for example, if I click on enter, it brought out the name. If, for example, I converted it, because normally what you were expecting to see when I selected the range, you're expecting to see maybe B. Let me just click on this. So you're expecting to see a range of number from maybe B3 to something like this, maybe to G117 as my table array. Because normally, I'm supposed to, if I start from here, ordinarily, to start from C10 till I get to, this is 117. So let me look at the column. So to L117, is that clear? That is only possible if this is a range. Because this is a table, it's going to give me the name of the table. It's going to give me the name of the table when I select that table. But if I'm talking about, if I convert this to a range, if I say convert to a range, can you see this? See the option here to convert to a range? Convert to a range. Yes. So this has been converted to a range. Meaning that if I select this table, what I'm going to get will be different. It's going to be different from it saying table 1. So if I come back to this, let me come back to this and say, can you see the range you have?
Yeah.
So the range is, in a sense, saying, is telling me now that what I have selected is the table name, which is data set. Where did I start this selection from? I started selecting from what? C11 to L117. So let me take you back to that table. I take you back to this table. C11. This is where the table starts from. C11 till L117. But if I name this, I don't need to have all of this. If I have named that table, I don't need to have all of this. It makes work easier. It makes it simpler because you have named it. So let me just quickly now talk about naming. So for example, if I have this range, so ordinarily this will be what? F2 to G4. F2 to G4. But if I want to give it a name, if I want to name this range that I have highlighted, what I will do is that I will come to formula, I will come to define name, I will come to this and define, I give it a name. So for example, if I give it maybe test, let me just give it test and click on OK. So if I come back here and I say equals to test, you can see test is now a known name in Excel because I have defined it. I've defined the range as text. Immediately I say equals to text, you see that it has highlighted the range, the location where I refer to as test. Is it clear?
Sorry, I think I have a short question.
You said what?
I said I have a short question.
Okay, you can ask your question.
Please, what's the difference between a range and a table?
So a range, a table is something that you can actually perform. You have other formatting, other way of you formatting it. It has other functionality compared to a range. So a range does not have, for example, if I put a table here, if I convert this, maybe I just come to insert and say table and click on OK. You see that it has given me table design. And it has given me other things I can do to the table. Sorry about that, sorry. So it has given me other things I can do to the table. You can see other things I can do to that table. I can change the look of the table. I can change the look and feel of that table. I can also add a filter or a slicer to that table. I can add a slicer to that table. I can do a lot of things to the table. I can add a total row. I can add first column for it to give me. I can add a banded column. You understand? So I can do a lot of formatting to it. But if I select a range, this is just a range. So if I come here and use our normal way we create table and put something on it. So this one, I can't do anything I can't do any formatting here, and it's going to be easy for me. If I want to make this one to look like this, I have to do it manually. Maybe select the top row and come to table and begin to put a color one after the other. You see that it's cumbersome.
Yeah.
So if I want to do calculation, I cannot, for me to refer to this, I have to come here to select the entire range. If I want to use information, if I want to use that table, you can see this range. If I want to use the information in this range for further calculation, so I need to come here and select the range. But if I want to use information on the table, in this table, for additional calculation, all I need to do is to just call the name of that table. Just type in the name of the table. So for this table now, if I select the entire table, this table should have a name. If I come to formula and come to manage name, you can see that the name of that table should be maybe table 4. So you can see that it's actually table 4. This refers to what? This section 1 refers to VLOOKUP. Section 1 VLOOKUP G4. Can you see G4 to H9? G4, this one. So you can see G4 to H9. G4 to H9. G4, H9. H9 is, if you trace it to this axis, you can see that this is 9. And if you trace it to this axis, this is G. So let me just erase that. So you can see manage table. You can see the table name, table 4. So if I delete this entire table, that name will also go away. If I come to delete, shift up, or let me just say shift left. So if I come to manage name, you can see I don't have that name again. I only have the text I referred to the other time. So I can also delete that text, but I don't need it.
Sorry, where did you change the color of the table? You went to design, table design.
Why did I do what? Why did I what?
Where did you change the color of the table? Was it table design?
Yes, on table design. So if you insert a table, for example, you insert the table in this range, so you can go to table design, because if you come to home, you can't do anything on this table. So you can just go to table design and begin to format the table. You can change the style of that table.
Okay.
You can do a lot of formatting to the table.
But if it is in range, that means it has to be each cell or each column being highlighted.
Yes, you have to be doing that manually. Yes, you have to highlight one after the other.
Now I see the problem. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And it's easy to work with table. It's easier to work with table because you can actually make reference to it. So you will see the benefits now. Let me just quickly do this. Okay. So when we used table the other time, what did we do? We were able to see the name of the table, right?
Yeah.
JSA store. But now, because I have converted that table to a range, it is not easy for me to just reference that table. Then that makes it difficult for me to just begin to type in. You understand? I just begin to type in. I begin to type in the name of the. I begin to highlight the name. The range where that table is located. But there is a better way of doing it, which is actually naming your table. So why don't I just name the table instead of coming over to select? So for this to sync very well, so let me do this VLOOKUP again. So click on VLOOKUP. What value am I looking for? Distributor ID. Where am I looking for the value? If the table was named, I could have just typed in AC underscore store as the location without having to go there and begin to select. So if you also ask for the column, I can as well name the column. I can give the column a name. You understand? I can give the column a name. So I can give that name to the column. And I can as well, okay, those are two things I can do. But now, because the table doesn't have a name, I just need to come here. For me to look for table array, I'll come to the data set. First, I will select the entire table because that is where my information is located. I will select the entire table and put a comma. Okay, there was a comma before. So I'll put the column index, which is 2. I'll put a comma, and I'll select exact match, and I'll put a closing bracket and click on enter. So it's going to bring this. But the challenge now is I have to always go back to the table. And when I'm on the, when I'm on the table, it gets you confused. So I want to select table, I come back to the table. Then I have left in where I'm typing the formula. I've already left where I'm typing the formula. So I come here and select. It makes it difficult for you. Okay, where am I creating the VLOOKUP? I'm actually creating the VLOOKUP in section 1. So why am I on this table again? You understand? So it's only when you not get used to it very well that it becomes, you now understand the reason why there is the formula you're typing, even though you're on this page, is affected on this section 1, VLOOKUP. If I click on enter, you see that it brought out the right information. So let's name our table. That is best practice. So I'm going to name the table. So I'm going to select the entire range. And I can come to the formula and just click on define name and give it a name. You understand? I can as well just come to this point and type in the name here. I can just say class data and click on enter. So the name class data has been given to the entire range. So meaning that if I say equals to class data, that is there as a name. If I select it, you see that it has selected the entire table because class data is referring to the entire table. I think naming a range is clear. Is naming a range clear? How to name a particular range? Is it clear? Is it clear to all?
Yes, but I have a question. Is it that you renamed this table?
Yes, I'm giving it a different name.
To data
I don't
set,
give it a right? Yes, I'm giving it a different name. So when you're working on your own sheet, you can delete all the names you have there and begin to give names. You understand?
Okay,
so I will advise.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I will advise that you come to name manager, delete all the names that are there before. And anything you want to name, just give it your own name. So what's the question?
I think you've answered my question. You were the one that named the data set range the other time. You know, when after the VLOOKUP equals to VLOOKUP into bracket B13, comma, the range of figures. Yes. So this data set, were you the one that named the data? I know the range.
No. It's not the data set. Yes. So whenever you select an information, it's typing the name of the sheet first, the sheet name. Then it now looks for the range, because this range actually is in a sheet, and that sheet is data set, and that is this, the name of this sheet. Can you see it? Data set.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it clear? So yes, if I change this one now and I refer to something else. So if I come back and I come back here and select that range from here.
Okay, I get it.
So that will be data validation. Can you see the data validation
yes.
there? So that name, the name of the sheet will come first before the range being referred to. So now that we have named our table class data, then let's just stay here and just write our formula. We don't need to go to that side at all. I can just come here and say equals to VLOOKUP. What am I looking for? I'm looking for this value. Put a comma. You understand? And you can see that it's saying this section 1, which is the name of the table, before the VLOOKUP and whatever. So now I'm going to look for class data. Then what again? I'm going to get the column index, column 2. Then I'm going to do an exact match. I'm going to click on enter. You can see it brought out my information without me going to where? Without me going to, you see that I don't need to bother myself by going to the other table and select the entire range. Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear because you named the table.
Yes, because I've named it.
It's not clear.
Okay.
The column 2, how do you go about it?
Okay, the
How do
column
you get
2 is,
column 2?
yes, that's 2, the 2 here, right?
Yes, yeah.
The 2 here is that I have gone to this table, which is class data. The information I want to return, what column is the information I want to return? So let's go to that place so that you answer that question. So I want to return the name. So I will ask you, what column is the name here? Distributor name is in what column? Okay, maybe I should put a grid line around it so that it's clearer. Maybe I should just do a table design and hold on, sorry. So let me select this again. I named it. Okay. Okay, what I did was that I just named it and I named the range and I did not convert it to a table. So if you look at it, this is column 1, this is column 2. To answer your question, distributor name is what I want to return here. I want to give me, I have the distributor ID. I want to check on this table what name correspond to the distributor ID I have here. And what column is that information? And that information is in column 2. This is column 1. This is column 2. This is column 3. This is column 4. This is column 5. This is column 6. This is column 7. This is 8, 9, 10, and so on. Is it clear? Do you know the reason why we use 2 now?
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Then the false, the last false.
Yes, so you now have option of, do you want an exact match? So what I mean by exact match is, do I want to return information where information I click here, remember I click something here, where this distributor ID, must it be exactly the same as the information I had, the corresponding distributor ID here? If I want it to be exactly the same, then I put an exact match. Because if I want it to be something that is approximate, if we look at this number and say, okay, if I have 28381, maybe this is 82, is close to this in terms of, because the only difference is what? If this one changes to 2, the only difference is 1 and 2. So if I use approximate match, it will pick this, because 23,081 and 23,282 are almost the same. Because of that, if I use an approximate match, if it's not able to find this exact information, it will pick something that is close to it. But in this case, distributor ID is unique to individual. There's no 2 individuals that have the same distributor ID. So I want exactly the same distributor ID. So I don't want something close to that distributor ID. I want that distributor ID exactly. That is why I use exact match. So you see, I will demonstrate a situation where we have to use approximate match, and you will get it better. Is it clear?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So let me do for the last time. For the last time, I'm going to now convert this. I've converted this to a range. So now I'm going to insert the table into this. I'm going to insert the table. So because I think I prefer to work more with table. But this table, I don't want to start from this. So I will change this to 10. It's 10. So my table has a header. Yes, my table actually has a header. I'm going to click on OK. You can see that this has been converted to a table now. And let me go to formula and go to manage name and see, okay, that table, it has been given table 6. So class data and table 6 are actually referring to the same range. Can you see? They are referring to the same. It's just that this one has a header and this one does not recognize the header. It is C10 to C to L117. And this is C11 to L117. So what I would do, I would delete what I initially named class data and rename this as my class data. This one, I'll call it class data. That is now in form of a table. Click on OK. So is that clear? So meaning that if I come here and say equals to what? VLOOKUP, look for this value, put comma, look for class data, click on it. What information do I want to return? The name is in second column, put a comma. Do I want an approximate match or an exact match? I want where it is exactly the same. I click on this and I close the bracket and I click on enter. It gives me the name. So all I need to do now is to just double click on this. When this shows a positive sign or a positive symbol, just double click on it. It will automatically propagate that formula to the next row. It will automatically propagate that formula to the next row. You begin to wonder, how is that possible? B13 has become B14. But class data is a range, of course, it will not move. So B13 has become B14. That takes us to the concept of absolute, relative, and mixed referencing. That takes us to the concept of what? Absolute, relative, and mixed referencing. So when I say absolute referencing, so for example, if I have 10, if I have these numbers, and I want to divide all of them by 10, and I put 10 here, I want to divide all of them by 10, what will I do? I will say equals to this divided by 10, right? Somebody's trying to say something.
Oh, sorry, I think I was not muted. I was like absolute 10 to make it continuous or consistent.
Yes, you are right. That's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to hear. So you want to make it, okay, we'll say we want to fix it by putting the $sign, right?
Yeah.
You know the reason for those $signs that you see? So if I click on this and put on enter and I click on drop down, this computation is wrong. So if I come back here, you can see that this has moved down, relative referencing. This has also moved down, relative referencing. Relative referencing is the default. setting in Excel. It's the default setting in Excel. Every reference is relative. Every reference is what? Relative. But you can now choose to convert a relative reference to an absolute reference or a mixture of absolute and relative references. So in this case, how do I fix this? Immediately I move down, the calculation move from 10 to the next cell. So when I move to the next one, it moves again. This one has moved again, but this has picked the right thing. When I come here, you can see it also move again. All the way from 10, it moves to the next cell, to this, to this. So how do I make this one permanent where it is? So that I can divide every information here with 10. All I need to do is to put a $ before H and 5. And for me to do that, what the function I need to do that is what I call F4. Just click on F4 when you highlight or when your cursor is close to any of this. So if I put my cursor here, I'll just click on F4. F4, if I press F4 the first time, it will change both to absolute references. So if I press F4 again, it will change it to a mixed referencing because it's going to make one absolute and make one relative. If I press F4 again, it will change it to mix again. But this time it will change from column to row, or to change from row to column. It will make the column to be an absolute reference and make the row to be relative reference. So if I press F4 again, it removes the referencing at all altogether. Then I press F4 again. So it's just pressing F4, changing, you understand? So meaning that if I click on enter and I double click on this, you can see at every point that I use the formula, it's picking 10. It's referring to that 10. So by way of saying, I have made this an absolute reference. Why my reference to this is relative. The same thing happened here. Because this is a relative referencing, it is relative referencing. If I move to the next line, if I decide to double click and move to the next line, this should also move to the next because it is relative. It is relative referencing. If I make this one an absolute reference and click on enter, if I move to the next line or to the next row, nothing will change. You see that it brought out the same name because when I move here, my referencing is still pointing to D. It's still pointing to B13. Whereas I have actually moved from B13, I have moved to B14, but it's still pointing to that B13. But for me to correct that, all I need to do is to just change that from absolute referencing to relative referencing. So if I do that and I click on this, you can see when I come here, that has changed. It also, when I move down, it also moved this down because this movement is related, it's relative, it's in relation to this other movement. Any questions so far?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Question.
Juliet, I think you should go first.
Okay. So when you wanted to use absolute, I introduced that $sign.
Yes.
How come you have $sign before B, and also $sign before 14? You double click the F4 or what?
Yes, I use absolute reference because I want, when I put, because I don't want this to change. I don't want the column or the row to change.
Yes, I wanted to know how you did it.
How I did it? Or
yes.
Why I did it? Is it why I did it
like
or how
F4,
I did it?
No. I know why.
Okay, I did F4. Just press F4. press
Okay, when you
F4,
press the F4,
yes, if you put the dollar sign
the
before,
$2 sign will appear.
yes, you put the $2 sign. You know, you can press F4 severally. So you press F4 the first time, it gives you absolute referencing. You press F4 again, it gives you a mixture of absolute and relative referencing. If you press F4 again, it gives you the mixture of absolute and relative referencing, but this time, you know what is, where the absolute referencing is on the column, while the relative referencing is on the row. So if you press it again, it's going to remove the referencing altogether. Then if you press it again, it's going to bring back the referencing. Is it clear?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So we have actually spent a lot of time trying to understand this concept. So this is supposed to be B. Okay. So having this in mind, you should be able to do the same here. So I want somebody to guide me. What is the column index for sales channel? Let's start from there. What is the column index for sales channel?
I think column 4. Of column 5, rather.
Yes, column 5.
Column
So
5.
let me put this one.
Yes, journals.
Okay, I wanted to put it at the center so it won't be confusing. So this is column 5. This is sales channel. So for me to look for that, what will I do? I'll just say equals to what? VLOOKUP, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will select this, right? That's my lookup value. Then what was the next thing to do?
The name of the table, I think we name it to class data or something.
Okay, class data. Then what's the next thing?
Column 5.
5. So what's the next thing?
0.
Okay, I can just put 0. Yes. Or I can just click on this false. So close, enter. So it's telling me that the sales channel is retail. So is that true? Let me.
Control F.
F. Okay. Fine. So this sales channel is actually retail. It's correct. You can see it's retail. Okay. So another question I want to quickly answer is, what happens when you have duplicate number? What happens when you have duplication? That is where the weakness comes in. So what it means is that your primary key, which is your lookup information, must not be duplicated. If, for example, you have two people with the same column ID and the distributor name is actually different, but they have the same name, or you have different people, they have the same surname and they have different first name, and you are using the column for first name and for the surname as your lookup. In that case, you need to do a match. You need to use a match with it, so that you will be able to match what the first name is and the column name before you can return a value. So we're going to do that later. So if you have, what happens when you have duplication in your column, in your distributor ID or your primary key? We call this primary key. It's going to pick up the first occurrence and discard the rest. Is it clear? So for example, if I have this same distributor ID repeated somewhere under here, so it's going to pick the first occurrence of that distributor ID and it's going to discard the rest. So that is why sometimes it's S for your primary key to be unique, meaning that there shouldn't be duplication. You should not have it duplicated. So what I need to do now is just complete. It's going to give me all of this. Is that clear?
Yes.
That's clear. So can we take the rest as a practice? Can you practice solving this?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, but there is also, apart from VLOOKUP, there is also HLOOKUP. That means you are looking for information horizontally. So I expect you to get the orders. So now, you are looking for information horizontally. How do you go about that? How do you go about horizontal lookup?
Probably.
You know, the other time we were considering column.
Column.
This time I'm going to be considering rows. I'm going to be considering rows. So this will be equals to what? Let me see. Okay, let me solve this one first. So let's solve this first one.
Okay.
So it's going to be this one first. So this will be equals to, now instead of VLOOKUP, I say HLOOKUP. So what is my lookup value? I'm looking for weight, right? Table array, where am I looking for the information? This is my entire table, where I'm looking for the information. Now, instead of column index that we supplied the other time, now it's going to be asking us for what? The row index. Sorry, I think I didn't click on the first one. So I click on this, put a comma, select the entire table, which is my table array, put a comma. Now it's going to be asking me for the row index.
So row 58.
No, you don't count by this number. In this case, it is row 1, 2.
Oh, okay.
Yes, what I want to return, which is the value, is actually in what row? Row 2. This is the first row. This is the second row, right?
Yeah.
So I'll put 2 there as my row index. The other time we are counting column, we're counting 1, 2, 3 as column. This time you count row 1, 2. You don't use this index number as your reference. What you're going to use is going to be a count, because you are counting from here. This is 1, this is 2. So I put a comma. This time, of course, I need an exact match as well. So I close the brackets and click on enter. So you can see that it's not telling me that at this point, when I'm looking for weight, the corresponding value is 128 pounds. If I do that, of course, I need to make this an absolute reference. Because one, what has happened here? The table has shifted down. Can you see that the table has moved? This one moved, the table also moved. My lookup table moved again. So for me to correct that, I can just return the lookup table back to where it's supposed to be and click on enter. You see that it is now 11. For shoe size, it is 11. Or all the way from here, I make it an absolute reference that at every point, the table array should not move. So I click on F4 and also click on F4 and click on enter. So meaning that if I do that and come here and double click, this will automatically not move. My column, my table array will not move because I've made it an absolute reference. I'm telling it stay there. At every point I move anywhere in the table, you must not move an inch. So I think that is clear. Is that clear?
Oh,
clear? Okay. So, huh?
The second one, that shoe size of 11. How come? How did you get? I will never say it. You said the column array moved.
No, when I moved the other time, before I made it an absolute reference, look at it. Before I made it an absolute reference, it was relative reference before, right? I click on enter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So immediately I click on this, you can see it's relative referencing. So meaning that if I move down the table, this table, the referencing to this array will also move. How do you know it has moved? If you don't click on it, you see that where this, okay, let me uncheck this. Let me look at this. Where is this red line covering? It's covering 57 and 58. When I move down a row, down, it will move this to 58 and 59. So let's see that. So if I move down, I have done, you can see it is covering 58 and 59. The table has also moved because it is relative. The referencing is relative. For me to achieve what I want, even though when I move from this to this, the table I'm looking for, my lookup table, my table array should still remain this table. So I need to make it absolute reference. Even though I move down, guy, stay where you are. Still look up for information from this table, don't move an inch. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now, that takes us to the next one. I will want you to really try your hand on this next one. And of course, this is also talking about VLOOKUP. This is next VLOOKUP with if error and put the country. So sometimes you want to pull some information. Okay, let me solve this one. You want to pull in from some information, and some will definitely return an error. It's going to return an error where you cannot see the distributor ID. Is that clear? So for example, there are some distributor IDs that are not present in my data set. So if you tell me that not available, because that distributor ID is not available. So if I say equals to VLOOKUP, what am I looking for? Distributor ID. From what table? Class data. What column am I looking for? What column is my country? So I need to quickly check that. Can you check from your end? I don't want to go back to like.
Okay.
What column is country? So country is in what column?
Column 3. Column 3.
Column 3. So column 3, I'm going to put that here as 3. As 3. And I'm doing an exact match, right? Yeah. So I do this. So you can see that after country, okay, there's name here. There is okay. So if I want to do what I've been doing before, what will I do? I'll just do a drop down, right? But you are seeing not available now. So what's the reason for the NA? What's the reason for that not available? That this is returning as the output. What's the reason? Can somebody try? Why the NA that was returned? Why did it return NA?
I think it's because the column is not available.
Yes, this ID, the distributor ID, is not available in my data set. So if I come to my data set, I say Control F and put that ID. You say find, you say we could not find what you are looking for. But if I come here and pick this and do find, you see that it could detect what I'm looking for. It could locate what I'm looking for here. You understand? So because it could not find what I'm looking for, what happens? It defaulted to an error, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But if I want to suppress the error, if I want to suppress that error message, I can use what we call an if error or if any. It is either this is the formula equals to if error. If error, this is an older version of this one is an older version of this equals to if any. So they will both perform the same thing. They will both perform the same operation. But the only difference between them is that if error is an older version. So in Excel 2017, Excel 2013, you have if error. From Excel 2016, 2019, you have if NA. So both will still perform the same error and the same, they also perform the same function. So what is the syntax for this? This is telling me that if there is an error, return, I want to define what is going to be returned, not the system telling me not available. So what I will do is I'm going to put in something. So I'm going to say if any. So I'm going to supply the first value, and I'm going to supply the value if it is true. Then I'm also going to supply the value if it is false. Okay, so let me start. So let me use if error so that let me leave if a.
I think you should use IFNA. They are
Okay.
the same, right?
They are the same.
This is older version. Let's use the most recent version.
Okay, if any. So what is the value if any? So what is my value? What is my test? What's the value that I should return? This is the value you should return. You should look up for the value, right? And return the value. But if the value is not available, you should return this value if it is available. But value if any, what should we return if the value, instead of returning any, value, what should we return for any? You should return not found. So I will put this in a string. When you want to put a test, or when you want to write a test in a formula, you put it in a quotation mark. So I will say if any should return not found. So if I run this, you can see instead of returning not any, it's giving me not found, not found, not found. Is that clear?
Yes.
So what has if any done for me? It's going to give me the value. Can you see the value? So the value is to look up for the information I'm looking for. Then if that information is not available, you should what? You should return the value if any. So the value to return if any is what? Not found. So this can be another thing. You can change it to be not available. You get it is what you define there that is going to return instead of returning not any. So you're going to return whatever you define. Not available is now what I define. You can say not available. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that you can as well use the same concept to solve this and then solve this. You the sales said value to put the value for each distributor. You can do this. So I think VLOOKUP is clear to an extent. So let me quickly run through what is not the disadvantage of VLOOKUP. What is not the disadvantage of VLOOKUP? So one of the topmost disadvantage of VLOOKUP is that it cannot look to the left of your table array. So for example, looking at this data set, if I have information that is before the distributor ID, I cannot look for information that is towards the left of the distributor ID. So if I have another information here, I cannot look for that information. So my reference, the value I'm looking for, every other information that I want to look for must be towards the right. So we cannot look towards the left. That is one major disadvantage. And the second one is that it breaks whenever you insert a column. Because why? The column index will change. So let me quickly just do an example here. So Cafe Mocha is a name that is present here. Cafe Mocha is present here. And if I want to return the corresponding, for example, maybe the information under Venti for Cafe Mocha, I can see it here. I can easily use a VLOOKUP to look for that product. So let me remove this. If I say under Venti, what is the price for Venti for Cafe Mocha? So what will it be? I can make it easy by just naming this table. I can give this table a name, define name. I give it. So let me just give it the default name that that has been given. It used the first cell as the name. So I'm okay with that. Classic favorites. So I'm okay with it. So meaning that if I want to look for information, I say equals to VLOOKUP. What am I looking for? This. From what table? Classic. Can you say classic favorite? What column am I looking for? 1, 2, 3, 4. Column 4. Do I want an exact match? Yes, I want an exact match. So I click on enter. You can see that it has brought out the price for me. And this price is this. You can see this is the price. This is the value it brought for me, which is fine. But something will happen if I insert a column. For example, if I decide to insert a column here, maybe I sent my workbook to somebody and the person did not know that I have used VLOOKUP to get information from this workbook. He mistakenly inserted another column. He said, okay, let me just insert something here. Insert column here and call this one maybe bread. You understand? What happened to my VLOOKUP? You see that it's telling me 0. It has broken because what has happened? The column index has moved. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. The column index for 4, which was Venti before, has moved to column index 5, whereas my formula is still referencing column index 4. And in column index 4, there is nothing. I have not put a value. It is until I put a value here that it will bring in for 56. But however, 56 is not actually for Venti. You see that VLOOKUP will break whenever you insert a column into your lookup table. So if I delete this, it will correct itself back again, because this has become what? It has become the column index 4. Any question?
No.
Okay. Do you have a question?
No, there is no question.
Okay, that's clear. And the other one is just that it cannot look towards the left. So okay, this is just to tell you that column cannot look towards the left, because you can see that the name I'm looking for, which is this. These are the names. They are here. These are the names here. Dobert Susan is one of the names here, Dobert Susan. But what I want to return is region. Because region is towards the left of my lookup value, it will not return an information. It will not return any information. Can you see? That is just, yeah. So there is something that can address all of these demerits, all of the disadvantages of VLOOKUP. There are two functions. One is a workaround, one is a newly developed tool or function by Microsoft. The workaround is to merge index and match together so that they work together as one. Index will return the value. Match will return the value and the row number. So you can now use the row number to locate where the information is. So looking at it, you see, I will first of all explain what an index will do for you. I will explain what a match will do for you. And I will now see what I will now show you how the two of them can combine together to give us what we have. And the results that will not break when we insert a new column, and what can look towards the left of my lookup value. So this function, if they are combined, will solve that demerit of the VLOOKUP, because VLOOKUP on its own has a disadvantage. But if we combine these two functions together, it will be able to take care of that disadvantage that is present in VLOOKUP. So the first function is index. So what we index?
Sorry, what's the disadvantage? I don't think I got what's the exact disadvantage of VLOOKUP? What are we trying to solve for? Using the index match, using the match.
So when I say disadvantage of VLOOKUP, I demonstrated it that when I inserted a column in my lookup table, what happened?
Oh, that's the disadvantage, yeah. So it gives us a $0. Yeah, okay, you can go back.
Yes, okay. So now, if I come to index, so index is going to do what? Okay, this is just demonstrate to you that index and match benefits. It can look towards the left. If the information is towards the left, you can look for it. If you insert a column in between what you have, for example, what I had before was just this, and this. I have inserted, even if I insert anything in between the column, of course, it will not break, because I have to specify just the cell that I'm referencing, not the entire table. So I'm only making reference to the column, not the entire table. So let's see. So I will start with a match. Let's see. Okay. Okay, see, match function. So what it's going to do for you is that you are looking for a value, you look for the table array, and you also look for the match type. The match type can be either three, can be exact, you have 0, 1, or -1. So each of them representing different scenarios that you want to look for. So for example, now, let me just use a match function on this. So let me clear this. So match function we do. Match function will return what? The row number where the information is. So what row is Cafe Monitor from this table? What row is it? You start counting from here. What row is Cafe Monitor?
Row 4.
1, 2,
Cafe Mocha. Row
3,
4.
4. Row 4, right? So we expect that 4 should be returned as a row number when we use a match function. So let me say equals to match. Lookup value, I'm looking for this. Lookup array. So I'm looking for it here.
So it's going to be like a column search, not a whole table search.
Yeah, not the whole table. So this is my array. So we are going to be referring to that column. So the match type, it is less than, greater than, but of course, what I want is the exact match.
Exact match.
Yeah, this, yes. So I click on exact and I click on enter. You see it has returned 4. 4 as the row number. So if I change this name, to Cafe Americano, I copy this and paste it here, you see that the number will change to 6. Because Cafe Americano is actually on row 6, right? It's on row 6. Okay, the next one I have is actually Cafe Americano. So I can just copy and paste this one back. This also changed to 4. So now what I want to do is to quickly move this down. So it's saying that this is row 5 because this has moved. So for me to be sure that this is always referring to this, for me to be sure that this is always referring to that range, for me to be sure that it's always referring to this range, I need to make it an absolute reference. Make this an absolute reference. So I'll click on enter. So I'll double click here. See, it is now 6. So let me undo something and show you. So at the time I drop down here to move to the next one, without making this an absolute reference, so if I go, it's K5. Why? Because this has moved down. Because I did not make it absolute. By making it absolute, I say, hey, stay here. Even if I move down to the next row, don't move. But here, I'm not giving that instruction. That is why it moved. As I move to the next row, it moved. But if I give that instruction, by making it absolute referencing or an absolute reference, that will stay there. Can you see? If I come here, you see that it did not move. So you know what a match will do for me? It will return the row number. So I expect you to as well, maybe try this out. Try this out.
Sorry, please. The line was breaking when you were explaining the match example. I couldn't really get what you said.
Okay. So the first thing that you need to get is, what will a match function do for you? It will return the row number. Abi? The row or column number. Is that clear? Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay. So it's going to return what row or what column is the information I'm looking for. So if I use a match function on this, if I say equals to match this, and I click on this, is that clear? I put a
Yes.
comma, I make this an absolute reference. It's going to ask me for what again now? The type. I have supplied the row or lookup array. So it's going to ask me for the lookup type, which I'm also going to supply as 0. So this is lookup type. So I'm going to close the brackets and click on enter. So what has it returned for me? It returned 4. So why did it return 4? Because cafe monitor is on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that clear?
Sorry, how did you get the 0 at the end?
Okay, so at the end, you have 3 options. You can pick less than, you can pick exact match, you can pick greater than. But because I want an exact match, so I pick 0.
Okay.
That's clear, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the same thing applies to this. I just play out this. So to also know that you master the act of looking for information, or for it to just return the row number or the column number for you. So I'm going to also go and explain what an index is. So index, on the other hand, will return the value. Index, on the other hand, will return what? The value. So let me delete this. Remember, when we click on cafe monitor, it returns 4. So if I say equals to index, lookup value is this. If I point to the same array and specify the type of match, sorry. So now it's asking me what is asking is different. It's asking me for the row number. What row is this information? Cafe monitor. Now, the other time I did not supply the row information when I was using match. But for index, I need to supply what row number. So we know the row number, which is row 4. So I put in row 4 as the row number. What is the column number? In this case, column number is actually optional. Because I'm referring to one column, it's going to default to 1 as the column number, because I'm referring to only one column. But if I highlighted more than one column, I have to specify what column am I referring to. So now what I need to do is just click on enter. Let me just apply 1 as a column. Cafe Muncha index. Okay. Row number for 1, 2. Okay, let me make sure. Oh, sorry. I need to specify the array I'm looking for. So for index, it is the array. I'm supposed to specify here. The array. I see the array. Then the row number. So the row number is Cafe Muncher is what? Is on row 4. So if I click on enter, you can see it brought out Cafe Muncher for me. Because I've said go into this array and give me the information on row 4. Unlike the other time, I said go into this array and give me the row number of the item that is on row 4. By this time now, I'm saying that give me the value. So I can make this an absolute reference. I make this an absolute reference and move down. If I move down to Senamo Dorsey Latte, that will be what row? Instead of row 4, that will be what? 4, 5, 6, 7. That will be 7. So if I click on 7, you can see it has given me the name because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The item on row 7 is actually this. So I'm going to pause and ask if this is clear. Is this clear?
Honestly, it's not, but for me, it's not for the index. But I think maybe when I go back and do the what's it called, the assignments, I think I will get a better picture. Or maybe because I'm tired, I don't know. But it's not clear for me. So I'll prefer to go back and do it the assignment and see. Because the match and the index for me, it seems alike. It seems the same. I'm not able to picture what's the difference.
Okay. So what was returned here? So I'm going to go back to that.
No, you don't need to go back to match. You don't need to go back to match. I totally understand match. But for the index, the match is like row number, whatever. What row are you looking for? Row 4, and you pick it when you write the formula.
So for match, I'm supplying I'm giving the row number. I'm saying, okay, take the row number. Then give me what is that row. I supply the array, and I say, okay, I'm looking for information that is on row 4. So what is on row 4?
Cafe Mocha.
So that is what is returned here.
So my question is, what's the point when I can easily pick it out, as I can easily look with my eyes and pick Cafe Mocha? Why am I actually searching for it? I mean, there's no logical reason using this match. I'm just being logical here. Because if I can
when you now combine the two together, it makes more sense. So that's why the combination of both is what will make sense to you. You understand? So and you also say that, okay, when you can actually look at it, okay, maybe sometimes you have 200 rows. You understand? You have 200 rows and you just want to pick one item from a particular row. You want to see the value that's in that row. So data set that you're going to be working with will not just be like this. So sometimes this is just a sample to show you that you might still have to work with data set that is larger than this. So do you begin to scroll down to look for that information? No.
But you still need to scroll down to the row number.
And to get the row number. Yes, you still need to scroll down to get the row number. Yes, I agree with you. But
yeah, so sorry to chime in, sorry to interrupt you. But if you are going to scroll down to pick the row number, then what's the point of the formula? If I'm going to scroll, why don't I just copy and paste? That's my own logical reason. And I mean, I like faster ways to things, and it's not looking like it.
Okay.
Might be wrong.
So one, it is when you combine this function that you see the benefit. I just show you two disadvantages of VLOOKUP, right?
Yes.
So when you combine these two together, you now see the benefits. One,
Okay.
I need a row number here, right?
Yeah.
But there's a function that can give me that row number, which is a match. A match function can give me this row number. Abi? So what about if I combine this now? If I want to return the value for maybe under vanity for this guy, what about if I combine this with the match function and say, okay, where I need to get the row number that I will ordinarily begin to look for manually, I want to say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Where am I looking for this information? I'm looking for it here. You understand? And what do I want? I want an exact match. And click on enter. So it's like, see, it has given me cafe monster without me manually typing in the row number. So if I decide to hard code this, let me hard code this, or let me, okay. So if I move down, if I just go to the next one, you can see that it has automatically picked what this is. I don't need to manually supply the row number anymore. Is it clear?
Yes, yes.
So when you were using, when we use the index alone, it doesn't make sense. But when we now use the index and match function, it will now make a lot of sense. Because one, if I now want to return, okay, let me go to examples where I have used that. Okay, so let me go to index and match versus VLOOKUP. So now, okay, look at this typical example. So now I want to return what the value of cafe monitor will be, what the price will be on that top, right? So all I need to do is to, what will I do? If I use a VLOOKUP to do that, sorry, let me delete all of this. So for me to use an index and match to do that, we say equals to index, so we'll finish very soon. Index, what am I looking for? Because I want to return a value, and the value I want to return is here. That is what I'm going to use as index, because index will return the value, right? So I will select this and make it an absolute reference. Then I need a row number. And for me to do that row number, according to what you said, it doesn't make sense for me to be going through the rows and be picking it one by one, right? I agree with you. And I want to use a function to return the row number. So I will click on match. I will use match to get the row number. So this is what I'm looking for. Get me the row number for this guy. And where is this guy located? It's located here. So I'm also going to say an exact match. Is that clear? But I'm going to make this an absolute reference. Absolute reference. And I'm going to close this and close the entire bracket. Click on enter. So what do you see? You see that it has returned 3.25, which is this number. I click on this, 3.45. So you can see how the combination makes sense.
Yeah.
So the advantage of this is if I decide to insert a column here, if I insert a column here, you see that I did not break, and you see that nothing breaks. this, if unlike VLOOKUP that I select the entire thing and the value cannot pick up because the column index has changed. This one will not, it will not break. That is the major advantage. Though it looks, it's going to look like something too complex, but it's something I encourage you to always use instead of VLOOKUP. And there is another one, which is the XLOOKUP, which works the same way with this, but it doesn't have all these workaround, because this is actually not, this is not vetted by Microsoft. So it was when people begin to do a workaround because of the disadvantages with VLOOKUP that even Microsoft came to the realization that it's actually possible to get a function which we incorporate the idea of the VLOOKUP, the idea of the index and match and what have you. And that is what we call the XLOOKUP. So what is now XLOOKUP? XLOOKUP is, I'm looking for, and mind you, this is not present, this XLOOKUP is not present in any of the version except Office 365. So if you have 2020, Excel 2020, or Microsoft Office 2020, that is the only one that you can use XLOOKUP on. It is not present in earlier version of Microsoft package. I think I will leave the aspect of XLOOKUP to our next class so that I'm very sure that you guys are very tired now. So yeah, I'm going to end. So, but we advise you to practice the index and match that we discussed today. The VLOOKUP, you understand, please practice. You have a lot of things you can use to practice here. Please do practice.
We'll do the needful. Thank you.
All right, see you on Thursday. Bye-bye. Yeah, I'll send you the recording. So catch up if you miss out anything. You can also get in touch with me. You can send me a message on WhatsApp if you're having any, if you're experiencing any difficulty. I will be glad to respond to your question. Thursday.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your time.